Hello and welcome. Welcome to the RPG Research channel on Twitch. Yep, we've got audio. And it is December 31st, 2017. It's the last day of 2017. And we were going to do a paranoia game and share that with you. However, 7 of the 10 people all came down sick. So that's a few too many people sick to go ahead and do a game. Paranoia is better with more people. You can play it with 1 or 2 or 3, but it really is better with a gaggle of people. So we canceled the game, but we are still going to do what we were going to do anyway at the first part, which is do basically a year in summary. And really we're going to, since you may be new to RPG Research, we're going to give you a quick snapshot of the past 35 years, the roots of RPG Research, and then what's happened this past year, the amazing things that have happened, and what's coming for next year in 2018, the already, a lot happening fast. We're still setting up our new broadcast studio. Pardon the audio. I haven't had a chance to set up nice microphones, so we're just running straight off the Logitech 922C 920 camera microphone, so I know it's not the greatest audio, but I've been scrambling like you would not believe. Moved all of this stuff, all of it, today from about 4 other rooms, upstairs, a game room over here, back in my studio, out in the dining room, and the trailer, out in the RPG trailer from my truck, just bringing it all because it's been scattered all over. And my back is shot.
It's all in one spot.
I'm going in my jacuzzi bathtub thing tonight after because I am dying. But we got here, we got on time, mostly on time, a few minutes late. Apologies for that. And of course, if you're catching this as a recording later, I know a few of you in the UK and elsewhere wanted to catch the show, but it's about 2 or 3 a.m., so I totally understand. No worries. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's celebration wherever you are already. It's 6:07 p.m. here right now, here in the Pacific time zone, and it's me, John, brings meat. So he's waving at us. So I'm assuming that's John, part of our team. Welcome, John. I should get my text chat up and running so I can see people and everything. So we're still frantically setting things up. So pardon the dust. At some point here, I'm going to transfer a video from this laptop to this laptop and play for you some teasers for a show we have coming up in March called Heroes Through the Mist or In the Mist. I keep going back and forth, but I think it's Heroes in the Mist. I think it is. So if you check out mistheroes.com, you'll see a little teaser with what's coming for that. Anyway. Let's. I want to give it a couple minutes for people to kind of trickle in before we really jump into the meat of things. You'll see I've got the camera in the back. It's all crooked. I need to straighten that, but you can get a wider angle of all the stuff we've got over here. So over here on my right side, your left, this is where my Tolkien books are because I'm also the founder of the local Tolkien Society here since 2004 or 5, since I moved to Spokane. We're an official SMILE of the UK Tolkien Society. It's an official chapter. So that's all Tolkien stuff there that we're getting put back on, that was upstairs and putting back on the shelves. Here is all gaming-related videos and movies and such, like The Gamers and Journey Quest and such. Here, this is mostly, on the left, recreation therapy. So I have a background in computer science, recreation therapy, music therapy, neuroscience, and research psychology. So this book is, except for the computer science, I have a whole room of computer science, of computer books. That alone would rival this. But this is all of the recreation therapy, music therapy, neuroscience, and research psychology books on that shelf. And then all the rest of it is gaming, role-playing gaming, mostly tabletop, a little bit of LARP.
Some choose your own adventure.
Lots of choose your own adventures scattered throughout, still trying to get those organized. And here, I'm going to pick up the camera and give people a quick little closer tour. It'll be a little shaky, but because I don't have a stable cam, but I'll do the best I can. So I'll give you, and this is the shorter cable so I can't get too close. If you want to go ahead and step out of the way, Danielle. Oh, and I'm Hawk Robinson. This is Danielle Whitworth. I'm the founder of RPG Research and RPG Therapeutics. Danielle is a member of RPG Research. She's on the board and a core volunteer staff member. So we'll just do a little pan through here. How's it looking? Okay, so I can be back about that far. But I can't go much closer than that. But for those of you who like to geek out over stuff, here you go. I have been involved with role-playing gaming since the late 70s. So a lot of this stuff I accrued as it came out. I used to charge a little bit for my games when I was like as young as 13 years old. Most of my players were college level or older, and they happily paid me the few bucks that I asked per game. Back then, a rule book was like $12, miniatures were 25 cents, and so it paid for my habit. They paid for my habit, and so you'll see a lot of the older stuff as well as the newer stuff too. But here we are back into the AD&D realm and such. And here's some of the videos. We're still gathering these up, but you'll see some key ones. And then haven't had a chance to put all my Tolkien stuff up yet. And down here is one of the game rooms, and over there is another game room, and upstairs more game rooms, and you can see setting up the computers. Everything else is a total mess and catastrophe, but
it happens.
We're getting there. All right, let's quit making you motion sick, for those of you that get that. Let's see, make sure we're back on track here. I'll turn the TV off as soon as I can. I can only get so many of these things at once. So, okay. So RPG Research started, as I said, I'm the founder, and I first started researching the effects of all forms of role-playing games, but especially tabletop, back in the 80s, at the beginning of the anti-gaming movement, such as the Satanic Panic, the Moral Panic of the 80s. Started running into places where they were banning gamers, like at the local libraries and schools, thanks to organizations like Bothered About Dungeons & Dragons, BADD, Patricia Pulling and such. And at the school, at one point I went to a school for gifted and talented children called Realms of Inquiry. This is in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we lost our drama teacher, and they were just going to make it a study hall, and I somehow talked the headmaster into, this is the short version, you've heard the long version before, into letting me teach role-playing gaming at a high school level as a substitute for that. People could either go to study hall or come to Hawk's role-playing game class. And it was 5 days a week. We used the biology lab. It was last period, and eventually everybody quit going to study hall and joined the class, and that lasted a month and a half, somewhere around there, until we got a new drama teacher. That was 83, 84, 85, somewhere around there. I think it was 85, 84. So that's when I started using role-playing games in a teaching environment. Now, it was teaching role-playing gaming, but then after that I started using role-playing games to help people retain information better, and so in educational settings, teach school subjects using role-playing games. Lots of people do this now. This is a pretty commonplace thing around the world as well as the U.S. In 2004, as I started studying to be a recreational therapist, I started looking at not just the effects of role-playing games and the gamers who play them, and the statistical information about them. I started looking at the possibilities of using role-playing games to achieve therapeutic goals. I'd already done educational goals, already been researching correlative data, causal data, etc. But there were a lot of indicators with the studies that were available, the few that were available at the time, that there might be some real therapeutic value. And so since 2004, have been really focusing on that while being inclusive of all the rest. And so RPG Research went online around that time. First, it was a subsite of one of my other sites. I have over 100 domains and over 30 different sites. So, eventually, it got its own dedicated site, I think, in 2006. But the purpose of it is a repository of all the research in the world on the effects of all forms of role-playing games. So those formats are tabletop, live action, computer-based, and choose your own adventure books, like solo adventure books and modules like choose your own adventures. And then we do a lot of community work where we help different populations, autism spectrum, the deaf community, brain injury recovery, social skills development, at-risk youth, yes, muscular dystrophy and cerebral palsy, and just a whole long list. And you can check it out on rpgresearch.com. And we create these programs, we give them to the community, we do it as volunteers, and then we assess the data. We use therapeutic recreation methodologies, we do assessments, we record a lot of information, we go through and do postmortems, process it, etc., and see what worked, what didn't work, and we feed all that information back into the body of knowledge on the website. And so it's this feedback loop between theoretical, practical, and keep revising. And we share all that publicly, what we're allowed to share. There's specific clinical data we can't share, and anything that's actually experimental we can't without IRB approval. But anything we can share, we do. And been doing that for 13 years. I have. So up until 2016, I worked with a lot of different volunteers. The Northeast Youth Center, we did a program in 2007. EWU, of course, fellow students, we did a lot of it. So worked with a lot of other people, but the core of RPG research, besides all the other researchers out there, was just me. And I started to get so much more work than I could handle, and I was seeing so many other areas where people needed to be helped, and that I was maxed out. I couldn't do more. So last year I decided to back off, step away from drumming up paying clients and such. So I have a private practice of RPG Therapeutics, which is a for-profit company. RPG Research is a non-profit. And so I backed off all the RPG therapeutic stuff, focused on RPG research to start finding people who wanted to do this, that I could brain dump the past 13 years worth of experience, or 35 years, however you want to look at it, and then multiply that effect so that many more people could be helped and get the benefits of this than I could ever do myself as an individual. John, who's in there, John Welker has the plague, as he says. He's one of the 7 people who cancel because they're sick. Thank you though, because I can't afford to go down again from being sick. But John was one of the first ones to join, and then Danielle. We had Jacob and Ryan and Heather. And Heather was always a temporary thing. Ryan decided it was more work than he wanted to do. Jacob's had to back off because of work, but he's still officially part of it. Yep. Then you came on, right? When did you come on? About what month?
It was about the end of March,
okay.
I think.
So about March. And then this fall, we had Charles join us, who just moved out from Iowa. And then Dan and Brad. So Brad's a local, but Dan also, didn't he move out here as well?
Yeah, from Florida.
From Florida, right, from Florida. He just moved out here as well. And so they're all new members of the team. So now we have more than a half dozen core people on our team that I'm just training. brain dump, fire hoses of information. We do programs pretty much every month. We have something that we do, if not every week, depending upon which of us has picked up what.
Yes.
And we share it on rpgresearch.com. We share it on our Twitter at rpgresearch, on our Google+, and we're going to start sharing here on Twitch. We've mostly been putting all our videos on youtube.com/rpgresearch. You'll find years and years and years of videos there. But we're going to start doing some of this Twitch stuff because we have coming up this show in March, which we'll get into. Now, so that's another teaser, but I'm going to pull back from that. Danielle, while I start getting some more of the TV and everything else, do you want to
talk about our programs? Or
talk about your experience coming on board and the things you've done, so that'll be the easiest for you to remember. We have a photographic history of RPG research going back 30-something years.
Yeah, and that's on rpgresearch.com.
Right, and then we also have a text one that's even lengthier. It's just a lot. But go ahead and talk about your experience in coming on board and your background while I start to fiddle with getting the TV and everything out.
So in March, I had played a few games, not a ton of RPGs. Most of the RPGs I had played were more like board games that also had this element of RPG. And I knew that I wanted to use games that I liked in therapy, and I was going through EWU's recreational therapy program, and my teacher was like, you have to meet Hawk. You have to meet Hawk. And I'm like, okay, why do I have to meet Hawk? And then I came out here, and I got to meet him in the trailer, and it was really...
When you say the trailer...
Yeah, the wheelchair-friendly RPG trailer. And it was just mind-blowing that someone else wanted to do what I wanted to do, which was use gaming as a form, and all role-playing games being one of the best for cooperative gameplay that everyone can do, and you can do all kinds of other therapy with it, which is part of recreational therapy, is doing what you need, not just this is my general thing that I do. And then I, having only been in a few games, have in about 4 months started role-playing or DMing myself, all by myself. I went to Spark Central this last month.
Explain what Spark Central is.
Spark Central
Remember, most viewers are not local to Spokane.
Is a at-risk youth and just general...
Yeah, it's a community
center.
Community center, yeah.
Yeah. It's really geared towards the youth, though, and it's in a spot where a lot of people would be at-risk youth. And I was all alone because the snow. I was the only one that braved it. And I ran 3 kids through No Thank You Evil, which is in the background back here.
Feel free to grab it and hold it up. That's one of the advantages here.
Yeah. And the nice thing with No Thank You Evil, even though it's a kid's game, it's really easy to pick up. Everything is step by step. I'm not the most strong DM, and I can pick this up and have read through the campaign once and run it with just about any population. And it's a great game. I like running, but I've also been running Eves of Mirkwood, and
explain what that is.
Eves of Mirkwood is well, it was Tor, but now it's I don't see it. It's D&D 5e that is Ventures in Middle Earth setting, and it's just a intro base thing.
So I think the text is big enough on that big screen.
I think it is. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you haven't got a chance to try D&D, I think that Adventures in Middle Earth is a great way to start. Because it really lays it out for that starter set. I don't see it back there.
Which one?
The beginning, the Eves of Mirkwood.
Yeah, because they still sent the hard copy.
Oh, they still haven't sent you the hard copy?
It's still a PDF.
Oh, that's right.
So
I thought it was a hard copy already. Oops.
If it is, they have forgotten to ship it to me.
Okay.
So, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
I just don't think they have the hard copy yet.
And so far, we've worked on at the MDA camp this year was a lot of fun.
Yep.
That was my first experience with LARPing, and other than seeing it in movies, we really had a fun time doing the battle royale. It was well structured, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working with that clientele, and yeah. The funniest thing is seeing some of these kids who hadn't connected with other people lighting up, just like, I want to do this.
Well, it was one of the few programs that they had the most engagement of any of the other activities. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids who didn't do any other activities fully engaged in what we offered. and they've signed us. MDA has us doing this again next summer. So
Yep.
that's awesome.
As well as our monthly meetings that we go to with the
Right.
MDA.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, I missed it this one.
Yeah.
I've been overloaded, but so I missed
And I
the
was
Christmas
gone.
party. Yeah. But we do everything we can to work with them. The Muscular Dystrophy Association is just a great organization. Brooke Lively, who runs the local one, especially the summer camp side, incredible, very hardworking. I really hope her situation turns out okay.
Yep.
So, and okay, so MDA camp.
Yeah.
Um,
Done a lot with Sparks Central,
Sparks
and
Central,
then
yep.
their monthly meetings.
right, and then of course we have the weekly training.
Yeah. And then
Wanna talk
I'm
about
here
that?
every week for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's a fire hose. It really is a fire hose, but it's nice. Oh, John's telling me I also did Lost Mines of Phandelver. Although it feels like I
MINES, not MINDS. Yes, and the first time you GM'd, what happened?
I was a TPK. That was my first
You
thing
were
I
a
ran.
TPK? You're the GM. You
I was
can't
a GM.
TPK.
It was a total TPK.
The players.
Yeah, the players.
Which was all of
I
us,
killed
the
them.
experienced staff. Every GM should experience that. This is their Kobayashi Maru, right?
That was a lot of, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and what else did we did? That was at a retreat, and our retreats were a lot of work, but a lot of fun too, because we got to do things like me run my first game.
Explain what the retreat was.
So we went up, and the first one we stayed in, I can't remember the campsite's name, but a campsite.
Camp Ponderay.
Camp
And we
Ponderay.
got the whole place.
To ourselves. So we set out our jousting stuff so that we could try it, because we had some of the wheelchair jousting stuff, and then we had game 3 games a day, and we did drumming.
Yep.
And
Yep. Because we also do music, so recreation therapy, music therapy, drum circles, and we incorporate music as part of the role-playing game experience as well.
And yeah, and a lot of drumming so that we could summon people and send them away. It was really just like everything I wanted to do with role-playing games, and my career eventually was like, yes, this is exactly what you see as a therapeutic recreational specialist.
So you're currently a student at Eastern Washington University.
Yep.
Working towards your CTRS.
Yes.
That's Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist.
I have 2 quarters and an internship left.
Excellent. And let's see. Okay, so I have pulled up. Boy, that was huge. We got a 50-inch big screen here, so that's good. If you want to look this up, it's www.rpgresearch.com. Again, when we're all set up, I'll be able to drag and drop, and we'll have all the nice fancy text and layout, and the audio will be better. We'll have microphones hooked up instead of just a webcam. We're still setting up this studio, so bear with us. But it's December 31st. We need to give a end of year summary. So here, if you go to www.rpgresearch.com/about/photo-history, you can see a visual history of all the stuff that's been happening all the way back to, well, I actually start the timeline in 1983 when I wrote an 8-page essay on the effects of role-playing games, the myth and reality, and then I'd read in front of the whole school. So that's when I consider RPG research kind of the kernel of it starting, because that was the first time I started researching it. And I was 12 or 13 at the time. And as I said, I was running games. People paid me as a GM. Pretty much all my players, I mean, I had some players that were peers, but for the most part, I had 2 groups on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and they were pretty much all college age or older. And many of the groups, like for a while there, I had them pay me. And I got paid to run role-playing games by college students and older people. Some of the guys were in 50s and 60s. So I've been doing this for a while. John's actually been doing it a little bit longer. He's a few years older than I am, and he's been role-playing for a long time as well. And he also has a medical background. I've been a nurse's aide, a habilitation therapist for people with developmental disorders, and then recreation therapist and music and neuroscience and all that. So that's in 83. So we're going to do the high-level summary because it's a little bit here and there, and then as we get closer to current, it really ramps up the number of data points. And this is just the visual history, which doesn't have as much as the text history, which would just take all day to go through. So in 84, 85 is when I taught role-playing gaming at a high school for about 6 weeks at Realms of Inquiry, a school for gifted and talented children. Around 86, I ran my first RPGA convention. 87 ran my second one. Not very big. First one was like a dozen players, and then the next one was like 50 or so people. But still, and I was about 15, 16. Kept using role-playing games, but I don't have any chance of visual stuff for teaching and such. Jump ahead to 2004, started to focus on the therapeutic potential of role-playing games with an essay, The Overview, History, and Potential Benefits of Role-Playing Games in September of 2004. You can find that on our rpgresearch.com website or on academia.edu if you have an account there. And then we've got some photos of, bless you, 2005, I think this is MERPCon 1, aka Tolkien Moot. I was GMing and co-GMing with Professor Chris Seaman. He was co-GM, played some of the NPCs. We'd written adventures, so you can look all that up on tolkienmoot.org. You can see all the previous adventures. The Tolkien Moot's still going strong. We just had our 13th year, and we're heading towards our 14th year. So a bunch of photos from that in 2005. I'm scrolling backwards. 2006 did a video skit of, so a couple of things. Did a skit, which is where this photo's from, of Monty Python's "What have the Romans ever done for us?" with John Cleese and such. But we did it all in ASL. This is when I was in ASL 2, American Sign Language. And I also was becoming very active with the deaf community in 2006. So I also created a number of programs to adapt and use role-playing gaming for the deaf community as I became more proficient with it and got to know the deaf community. I was very, very active with the deaf community for many years, up until I got sick in 2012. I was really, really active. So that was in 2006. 2007, we got MERPCon 3. You were here when I read that article, right?
Oh, yeah.
The MERPCon overdose. Well, that's Joe Mandela from the Guild Companion who wrote that wonderful article.
Yes.
He basically equated me to the drug pusher because it was 3 days of nonstop gaming. You start Friday, don't end until Sunday night. People came from as far as Germany and such. It was intense. So you can read that. You can read MERPCon Overdose. You can read it on tolkienmoot.org, you can read it on RPG Research, or you can read it on the Guild Companion in their magazine, or you can just Google it, MERPCon Overdose. And it's a funny article. He did a beautiful job. He had a wonderful time, and it was funny. So here's 2007. So if you're following along, folks at home, we're scrolling upwards on this photo history. With Eastern Washington University, Fantastic Fun for All. The theme was extreme medieval sports. This was with Barb Brock. And, gee, I wonder who came up with the theme.
I think it was you.
And everybody voted for it. Like it was a group of 30 people, and everybody voted for it. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so we all came up with a medieval themed activities, and mine was the Lance-a-Lot Joust, which was a couple of office chairs and a board between, and you had squires who pulled the chairs towards each other with foam noodles and cardboard swords for these kids. And the Northeast Youth Center is a place, it's for the Hilliard area, which is one of the poorest zip codes in the country and has a really high level of hunger and poverty. And so these events that EW and we put on and the Northeast Youth Center put on are to feed the kids and give them activities while their parents are at work and everything. And it was great. So there's great photos there. That's Barb Brock on my left. And that's Lord Sir Weasel of the Society for Creative Anachronism, the SCA. He brought all of his armor, not all, but a lot of his armor for the kids to try on. So here's these kids all dressed up in the armor. Mm-hmm. There's the Lancelot joust. You got the crown and the clay. There's a squire and just great time. My kids were so jealous because they were part of it. So that was the flyer and such for it. Then more Tolkien Moots and MERPCons and other things. We got a couple of published authors, John D. Ratliff, author of The History of the Hobbit, was one of my guest speakers from RubeCon 4, as well as Michael Martinez, who's a Tolkien scholar of many, many, many Tolkien essays. Also had both of them that year. So it was great, both of them just talking back and forth and sharing their wisdom. And they're gamers too. John D. Ratliff has written a lot of modules for Cthulhu. For TSR, he wrote a lot of D&D modules. So really established in the gaming community. It was a real honor to have him. So more Tolkien moots. That was at Appletree, converted a bunch of hotel rooms. So 2009, 2010, every year. And again, meanwhile, doing all these other. Now here's the problem with the photo history. Most of the clients I work with, and now we work with, are protected, and we can't share the photos of them. It's really hard to get releases for many of these. Very, very difficult. So that's why a lot of these photos are only from MERPCon and Tolkien Moot, because those people we have control because we run the program, and we make them sign a waiver that says we can use their likeness, etc. And we're not doing therapy with those particular groups. So these are kind of representative of many, many, many other programs going on at the time when you look at the photo history. And so you see that just kind of ramping up. I started doing, so online tabletop role-playing game, which is kind of becoming popular now. I started doing that in the 90s over See You, See Me. I had my own white pine reflector. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Nope.
It's a whole other generation. Let me see if we're missing anything. Sneeze on all things.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I
covered with my elbow.
Thank you, John. He's posting the links. Thank you, John. That's really helpful. Yeah, back in the 90s when my friends started moving to other states and such, I still wanted them to remote in, so I had a little quick cam set up, and I used a See You, See Me reflector. Now keep in mind, back then the resolution was like 160, I think, dp, a little tiny thing. But it worked. We were able to remote people in and play tabletop remotely. Now we didn't broadcast, other than you could have up to 32 people in a See You, See Me reflector chat room. So you could have up to 32 people. We never did that many. So they didn't have broadcasting these things as an entertainment thing. But we could play with each other all over the world, doing that over the internet back in the 90s, as primitive as tech was. In 2009, did one, did some others, and then 2012, Seattle has a pretty famous improv place called Jet City Improv. And my girlfriend's brother, Joe Coonan, is one of the awesome improv comics at Jet City. And he actually teaches a lot of the cult classes there now. He's a professional improv artist. So he and one of his coworkers, we ran through my campaign, my Worlds of Beirut campaign, with some of my kids and Katie, and so we did that over Google Hangout back in 2012 through 2013. And and the technology was still kind of not quite there yet, still kind of limping along, but as I said, using all these different formats and technologies, always experimenting, trying different things to see what works and what doesn't work. 2014, I was in a panel for LARP as a form of therapy. This was hosted by Kristen Brumley, and by then I had met Dr. Sarah Lynn Bowman, who's an adjunct professor of English and Communications, but she has written extensively. You want to grab, if you can find her, The Functions of Role-Playing Gaming. She has a great book when she was working on her doctoral thesis and such, and about role-playing games, and it's something that people reference a lot. And so I had the honor of being on the panel in 2014. In 2015, really started to ramp up the autism spectrum programs. What's that?
What color is it?
Kind of tannish brown. Oh, there it is. The Functions of role-playing. Nope, go right, go right.
Right.
There you go. That's it. Nope, no, one more. There you go. So I'll hold close up to the camera. And you can get that on Amazon and what have you. There it is. Anyway, so I've been working a lot with autism spectrum, and then had the opportunity to work with autism spectrum toddlers, 2.5 to 5-year-old, and created a LARP quest adventure combo. And ours was the only one that the kids completed all the way, did the full time. So it was really wildly successful compared to the other rec therapy programs.
I wish we still did this.
Yeah, that's really too bad. That was one of the main reasons I went to EWU, is the hands-on.
Well, we did something much smaller, and
that unfortunately that particular program ended. They've been running for 12 years and ended the next year. So you guys unfortunately missed out. But
Yep.
It was a really successful program. I did a late night program 2014 through 2015 down at the local friendly local neighborhood game store, FLNGMS, something like that, Merlin's. And one of the gamers there had cerebral palsy and such, and so we used some adaptive stuff to help with the dice rolling and such. And 2014 is when I got certified with my mental health first aid USA. It's also when I registered with Washington State as a Washington State Department of Health registered recreational therapist. Got bloodborne pathogen certifications, etc. So all these you can see in the videos. And then also towards the end of 2014 was ZoeCon 2. Now Zoe is Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, and they make The Gamers, Journey Quest, and a lot of other great internet shows, and they're very much a part of the community. And so they were having some trouble with their AV stuff, so they let me come up there and speak and film. That was the first time outside of the academic community that I was speaking to the general public and the gamer community about all this research back in 2014.
They're very supportive. Thank you, ZoeCon.
They were. It was very, very supportive. Also, that's when I was working at St. Luke's, volunteering at St. Luke's Rehab in the Traumatic Brain Injury and Spinal Cord Injury Department, 2014 through 2015. That was a great experience with both rec therapy, role-playing games, and music therapy. It was amazing. Also, let's see, okay. Now I got to kind of go the other way because we're going backwards. Well, okay. In November 2015, John and I met, I believe, through Tolkien Moot. Let me see if he says, oh, we got a question? Oh, we got somebody here. Yes, the shirt is
reference to paranoia.
Uh-oh, is our stream acting up? That's not good.
I wonder if we can watch ourselves very well.
We're still streaming, but it's choking out. Come on, come back. There we go. Okay. Okay, so Inu Niko Yokai. Is your shirt a reference to paranoia? It most definitely is. Tonight we were going to do a paranoia game. I was going to be the computer. Trust the computer. The computer is your friend. Please report to the nearest termination facility. Thank you, and have a nice day. Happiness is mandatory. I was going to start with my eyeball on the camera. Like this. See if it works.
No, yeah, there it goes.
Which is the symbol. It's a screen with an eye. Oh, my back.
It's a symbol.
If you just tuned in, I moved all these books and shelves today, so my back is killing me. Yeah, it's a symbol on the shirt. So I was going to have it start that way with the show, and I got little. I got all sorts of goodies. Anyway, everybody was sick, and so it unfortunately got canceled. I got these. I was going to hand your orders. I was going to go over, so I was going to be behind the big screen, and these claws would come out holding your orders and go, woo, and drop them for you. Woo, like that. So that was going to be a fun gimmick. I also got a drone that can both be can roll on the ground or fly, and was going to use that as the bots you. And I was hoping to work with Andy Doborowski and Scott C. Brown from the Gamers and the Two Bards, but the schedules didn't work. I was going to have them be on the screen as little characters that you guys had to deal with, difficult bureaucrats or something. Down the road, maybe we can make it happen. Oh, our signal's going again.
We have more messages, but I can't scroll down.
So, didn't see you in the PGMS chat, so I was confused. What's PGMS?
The gaming one. The Game Masters.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, the professional game masters, so I was confused. Okay. So because everybody was sick, had to cancel. I've run Paranoia for years and years and years and years and years. It is a blast. It usually doesn't hold up. We're streaming. Come on, stream. Why is our stream acting up? Oh, you know what? I probably should have reset everything. Oh, you know what it could be? Everybody's hitting the server and sucking up the bandwidth. I'm planning to up right now I only have 55 megabits. I'm planning to up it to like 250. But boy, I should have reset the network.
Because now I was in such a hurry. Minute below past this.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to pause the stream and I'm going to reset my network and I'll be back. We'll be back in just like 2 to 5 minutes. I hate to stop. Just please stick around. But we're choking too much. I need to reset all the routers because I forgot to do that as I was frantic getting set up. Please don't go away. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. And when I get a chance, I'm going to start talking. We're almost caught up for the past year, and then we'll talk about the exciting stuff coming for next year. Stay tuned. Oh, I should stop the stream first.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not just going to be sitting here